Imagine this, a cold, dark night in November. A commercial airliner soars through a storm high above the Pacific Northwest. Inside, a man sits calmly, almost indistinguishable from any other passenger. But this man holds a secret, a note that will trigger one of the most audacious and perplexing heists in American history. He will leap into the abyss, into a legend, and vanish without a trace, leaving behind a mystery that has captivated generations and confounded the FBI for over 5 decades. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the only skyjacker who ever truly got away. The year was 1971, a time of significant social and political upheaval in the United States. The Vietnam War raged on, counterculture movements were in full swing, and a sense of unease permeated the nation. Yet, amidst this backdrop, a seemingly ordinary event unfolded on November 24th, the day before Thanksgiving. A man, impeccably dressed in a dark suit, a white shirt, and a black tie, approached the Northwest Orient Airlines counter at Portland International Airport. He purchased a one-way ticket for Flight 305 to Seattle, paying cash, and registered under the name Dan Cooper. His demeanor was unremarkable. He appeared to be just another businessman on a routine trip. Little did anyone know, this man was about to etch his name into the annals of criminal history, not as a brutal killer or a master manipulator, but as a phantom, a sky pirate who defied gravity and the law. Flight 305 was a Boeing 727-100, a narrow-body tri-jet airliner known for its distinctive T-tail and 3 rear-mounted engines. It was a relatively short flight, just a 30-minute hop from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. On board were 36 passengers and a crew of 6. Among them was the man who called himself Dan Cooper, seated in seat 18C. He ordered a bourbon and soda, lit a cigarette, and waited. Shortly after takeoff, as the plane reached cruising altitude, Cooper made his move. He calmly handed it a note to Florence Schaffner, a flight attendant. Schaffner, accustomed to passengers passing notes, tucked it into her purse without immediate concern. However, Cooper leaned in and told her, "Miss, you're better off looking at that note. I have a bomb." His voice was calm, almost conversational, yet the gravity of his words hung heavy in the air. Schaffner, with a growing sense of dread, opened the folded piece of paper. The message was handwritten in neat, all-caps script. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me. You are being hijacked." The word hijacked sent a chilling realization through Schaffner. This was not a prank, it was a serious threat. She did as instructed, taking the seat next to Cooper. Then he opened his briefcase, just enough for her to glimpse what appeared to be 8 red cylinders connected by wires and a large battery. It was a convincing display, and Schaffner had no reason to doubt his claim. Cooper then laid out his demands: $200,000 in negotiable American currency, specifically $20 bills, and 4 parachutes, 2 primary and 2 reserve. He also specified a fuel truck be ready in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. Schaffner relayed the demands to Captain William Scott, who immediately contacted air traffic control. The FBI was notified, and a frantic scramble ensued on the ground. The authorities, under the guidance of FBI agent Al Lee, had a difficult decision to make. In 1971, skyjackings were a relatively common occurrence, but they usually involved political motives or attempts to escape to Cuba. This was different. Cooper's demands were purely financial, and his methods were chillingly precise. After quick deliberation and fearing for the lives of the passengers and crew, they decided to comply. As the Boeing 727 circled Puget Sound for over 2 hours, burning off fuel to ensure a safe landing weight, a team on the ground worked feverishly to gather the ransom money and parachutes. The $200,000 was meticulously counted, each $20 bill photocopied for later identification. The serial numbers were also recorded. 4 parachutes were procured from a local skydiving school. The FBI's primary objective was to ensure the safety of everyone on board. Back on the plane, Cooper remained composed, even courteous. He allowed Schaffner to return to the galley, and he declined a meal, only ordering another bourbon and soda. He paid for his drinks, insisted on giving Schaffner a tip, and even offered instructions on how to open the plane's rear air stair door, a feature unique to the Boeing 727. He seemed remarkably knowledgeable about aircraft, which would later fuel speculation about his background. He wasn't overtly threatening, but the ever-present briefcase with its implied bomb kept everyone on edge. At approximately 5:39 p.m. PST, Flight 305 landed at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. The plane taxied to a secluded, well-lit section of the tarmac. The ransom money and parachutes were delivered to the plane by an FBI agent. Cooper carefully inspected the money and the parachutes. He released all 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants, keeping only Captain Scott, First Officer William Radasak, Flight Engineer H.E. Anderson, and 1 flight attendant, Tina Mucklow. His selection of Mucklow was likely due to her calm demeanor and her role in communicating with him. With the exchange complete, Cooper then presented his next set of instructions. He demanded that the plane be refueled and fly south-southeast towards Mexico City at the lowest possible speed and altitude, no higher than 10,000 feet, with the landing gear down and flaps extended to 15 degrees. He also insisted that the cabin remain unpressurized. These specific instructions were crucial as they would allow him to safely exit the aircraft via the rear air stair door. After refueling, at around 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off once more, heading into the dark, stormy night. 2 F-106 fighter jets from nearby McChord Air Force Base were dispatched to follow the hijacked aircraft, flying above and behind it, their presence masked by the darkness and the storm. A few other military and civilian aircraft also attempted to track the plane, but Cooper's low altitude and the challenging weather conditions made visual contact difficult. Around 8 p.m., as the plane was flying over a rural area south of Seattle, Cooper sent Tina Mucklow to the cockpit and told her not to return. He then instructed Captain Scott to slow the plane down even further. Inside the cabin, Cooper had tied the money bag to himself and donned one of the parachutes. At approximately 8:13 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit, indicating that the rear air stair had been deployed. The crew felt a slight bump, a subtle shift in the aircraft's trim. They looked back, but saw nothing in the pitch-black night. D.B. Cooper had jumped. He had plunged into the unforgiving darkness, into a violent rainstorm, somewhere over southwestern Washington. The precise location of his jump remains a point of contention and endless speculation. The pilots, following protocol, continued to fly for another 20 minutes before landing safely in Reno, Nevada. Upon landing, the plane was immediately surrounded by law enforcement, only to find the cabin empty, save for a few of Cooper's discarded cigarettes, his tie clip, and a few loose strands of hair. The D.B. Cooper investigation, codenamed Norjack, Northwest Hijacking, immediately became one of the most extensive and expensive manhunts in FBI history. Hundreds of agents were assigned to the case, scouring the rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest. The FBI conducted aerial searches, ground searches, and even organized volunteer search parties. They interviewed hundreds of people, followed countless leads, and chased down every conceivable theory. The ransom money, with its recorded serial numbers, was a key piece of evidence. The FBI distributed lists of the serial numbers to banks, casinos, and businesses across the country, hoping that Cooper would eventually try to spend the marked bills. They also released detailed composite sketch of Cooper based on descriptions from the flight crew, which became instantly iconic. Despite the massive effort, D.B. Cooper seemed to have vanished into thin air. No body was ever found, no trace of the parachutes, no clothing, no bomb components. The sheer audacity of the jump, coupled with the harsh conditions and the dense, unforgiving forest, led many to believe that Cooper could not have survived. The prevailing theory was that he either died on impact or succumbed to exposure in the wilderness. However, the discovery of some of the ransom money years later reignited the mystery and offered a glimmer of hope that Cooper might have survived. In February 1980, Brian Ingram, an 8-year-old boy on a family picnic along the Columbia River near Vancouver, Washington, stumbled upon 3 bundles of $20 bills, severely deteriorated but clearly identifiable by their serial numbers. The discovery, totaling $5,800, was found buried in the sand, suggesting that the money had been carried by the river. The discovery of the money was significant, but it also raised more questions than answers. How did the money end up there? Was it dropped by Cooper during his jump and then washed downstream, or did he bury it there after surviving the jump? The FBI meticulously analyzed the bills, hoping for clues, but the money offered no definitive proof of Cooper's fate. It merely confirmed that at least some of the ransom had found its way back to civilization. Over the decades, numerous suspects have been investigated, some with compelling evidence, others with nothing more than circumstantial links. Richard McCoy, a former paratrooper at experienced skyjacker who pulled off a similar though less successful skyjacking just 5 months after Cooper, was a prime suspect. He famously said, "I'm not saying I'm D.B. Cooper, but if I were, I wouldn't tell you." McCoy was eventually captured and killed in a shootout with the FBI, but he always maintained his innocence regarding the Cooper hijacking. Kenneth Christensen, a former Northwest Orient Flight attendant with military experience and a striking resemblance to the composite sketch, was another strong contender. He also had a preference for bourbon and wore a tie clip similar to the one found on the plane. Duane Weber, a former serviceman with a criminal record, confessed to his wife on his deathbed that he was D.B. Cooper. His wife, intrigued, found an old key to a safe deposit box and a map marked with D.B. Cooper drop zone among his belongings. Each suspect presented a tantalizing possibility, but none have ever been conclusively proven to be D.B. Cooper. The D.B. Cooper case has transcended criminal history and become a cultural phenomenon. It has inspired books, movies, documentaries, and countless theories. It continues to fascinate the public because it represents the ultimate escape, the triumph of an individual against seemingly insurmountable odds, and the enduring allure of an unsolved mystery. The fact that he was never caught, never identified, and never seen again, despite one of the most extensive manhunts in history, is a testament to his audacious plan and perhaps a stroke of incredible luck. The FBI officially suspended active investigation of the D.B. Cooper case in 2016, citing the lack of new credible leads and the overwhelming resources that would be required to continue the pursuit. However, they maintain the case file and are open to reviewing any new tangible evidence that may emerge. So, who was D.B. Cooper? Was he a seasoned criminal, a disgruntled former airline employee, a military veteran with specialized survival skills, or just an ordinary man driven to an extraordinary act? Was he a master planner, or did he simply get incredibly lucky? Did he survive the jump, disappear with the money, and live out his days in anonymity? Or did he perish in the cold, dark wilderness, his body and the remaining ransom forever swallowed by the unforgiving landscape? The truth remains elusive, hidden somewhere in the dense forests of Washington, or perhaps in the quiet memories of a man who successfully pulled off the ultimate vanishing act. The legend of D.B. Cooper continues to echo through time, a testament to an unsolved riddle that challenges our understanding of crime, survival, and the enduring allure of the unknown. His story is a captivating chapter in American history, a thrilling real-life mystery that still haunts the FBI and captivates the imagination of millions. For more real American crime stories that still haunt the FBI, make sure to subscribe to American Mystery Vault.